Time for a nice, relaxing, no toxicity game of TFT. Oh, come on. Really?
Please remember to support Mission4Tution by hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and turning on notifications.
Welcome to another episode of TFT Hyper Roll, where I'm going to show you another build that I use sometimes. In this one, I started with a Gragas, but very quickly saw that I was getting a few redeemed early on, and so I decided to at least start heading in that direction and see what everything would give me, because I like to go by a combination of my items and what they're giving me. I pick up the needlessly large rod in the thought that, okay, if I'm going to get redeemed, I need Vel'Koz items. However, early on, I'm going to be much better off with a Yasuo and an Aatrox as Legionnaires. So I put them in and keep the Varus on the bench, waiting until it's level 4 and I can put Varus out to fill in the 3 redeemed. And as you can see, the early strategy kind of works, as I'm able to win early. I pick up a Poppy so that I can trigger the Knight bonus. Obviously that will be coming later, but it's always good to have an extra Knight while you're waiting for the rest of your build to fill in. With the new buffs to Trundle, this becomes a very difficult fight against the 3 skirmishers, and I can't win that one. I grab the recursive bow because it's time to put in a Varus and throw a Rage Blade on it. At this point, I'm also still debating between Redeemed and Legionnaire. And Legionnaire can also use a Rage Blade as an item. It would either go on Draven or Yasuo, depending on which one's going to be a higher level at the time. The nice thing with Varus is that his ult allows characters within the range of his ult to do additional damage. So every time he's ults, he's allowing Leona to do additional damage and Yasuo while Yasuo was still alive. He can also do a decent amount of damage on his own, especially with the redeemed buff, and so he is able to finish off this Lux. Heading into this fight, I can see it's going to be difficult because they have a much better itemized Yasuo, along with a Nightbringer buff, which will give them some shielding as necessary, which allows them to pretty much win easily. I lock so I can have the Silver Varus at this point and see what items I get, because I'm still not sure whether I'm going Redeemed or if I'm going Legionnaire. And the items, in all reality at this point, are not giving me much direction. I throw out the Silver Poppy so that I have the Knight buff and can silver up my Aatrox. Using a Nico's help, I gold Leona so that I can put the Sunfire Cape on, because even in a Legionnaire build, I might end up using the Knights just to make them stronger. And again, you see the power that Varus can bring to this fight, because every time he ults, he's allowing Leona to do extra damage, and with her at gold, she's very, very difficult to kill. So this becomes an interesting choice moment, because I get both a key Legionnaire in Mordekaiser and a key Redeemed in Vel'Koz. However, the decision becomes a lot easier when I get the needlessly large rod and I realize, okay, I have everything I need for Vel'Koz, which really is just a Hextech revolver. So we're keeping Mordekaiser in for now, just to give Aatrox the extra buff, but I know now that I'm headed in the Redeemed direction. I've picked up a Nautilus because I plan to use him to replace Poppy at some point, since Rel is a redeemed and both Nautilus and Rel are also ironclad, so that combination will give me the Knight and the ironclad buff. Grabbing the Shadow Chain Vest allows me to create the Gargoyle Stone Plate of Immortality, which will allow Leona to receive heals for each enemy that's attacking her. Ultimately, I need to get to 6 redeem for all of the buffs to really take effect, but at this point I can somewhat survive on this build as it is, except when Vladimir can one-shot you. It's now time to commit to redeemed and go up to the full 6. Off this NPC round, I pick up the magnetic removal. It's going to be absolutely key later, and an additional Nico's help. So now, if my rolling doesn't get me a Vel'Koz, I can take him up to silver, because it's time to do that as we're into round 7. We silver up our Lux, and pick up a Karma for later on, because her Invoker buff will be fantastic with Syndra. With Rel now purchased, it'll be time to switch out the Poppy after this fight, and then also add the Rel into the combat. That will give us the Ironclad and the Knight buff, rather than just the Knight buff. Putting a Guardian Angel on Vel'Koz gives him a little bit of defense from physical attacks, but also gives him the chance to come back after being killed, hopefully into his ult, where the Hextech Revolver will pretty much heal him to full, allowing him to continue the fight and potentially win it. As you can see, Vel'Koz is quite powerful and does a lot of work in this fight, even able to take out some of the new and improved skirmishers, with Lux giggling all the way. Even though we haven't silvered up our Nautilus yet, it's time to put him in, combine him with Rel, and give the Ironclad buff so that every team member gets 40 additional armor. Here, getting the Spellweaver buff is really nice. We can put that on a character and that immediately buffs Vel'Koz, making him even more potent than before. We throw a Quicksilver on Varus just because we want to keep him from getting pulled or stunned in any way, shape, or form, while still allowing him to ult into the middle where a large part of our team is, who's able to do that additional magic damage. Again, as you watch, inside his ult, there's more damage being done. With the Spellweaver buff on Syndra and Vel'Koz, they keep pouring out additional damage, allowing them to absolutely wreck teams when they can't get close to them. Here, that additional damage absolutely helps win the game. Okay, this is where I make the biggest mistake I've probably ever made in TFT. I decide I need more invokers, and I want to show that. And there's a silver Ivern showing on the bottom of the screen. So clearly, I pick up all 3 Iverns to make my next invoker. I silver up my Nautilus. Now, in my defense, my kid came into the room and spoke to me at this moment, and so I got momentarily distracted, but it really isn't an excuse for this. I grab the other invoker on my screen and take her out of the game, instead of the Atrox who was supposed to go. At this moment, I realize my error, and I'm double face-palming as I think I have just thrown this game away by absolutely ruining any chance I had because I left the wrong redeemed in the game. I'm honestly not quite sure how I made that mistake, even with a distraction, but by some miracle, I won that round. I then silver up my Karma and can put her out, but I'm kicking myself, thinking I'm likely now going to not win this match. I'll get top 4, but I'm not going to win because of the mistake. And that Teemo at the bottom is just a reminder that I could have had 4 invokers at this point, which is a nearly unstoppable combination. However, I threw it away by tossing my Syndra out the window. But we play on and hope we can make something of this. Luckily, with the Spellweaver buff and the Hextech Revolver, Vel'Koz is so strong he continues to keep me in the game until I meet someone running almost the same build as me. They have knights, they have redeemed, but one of their redeemed is Kayle. I don't have a Kayle. I figure for sure at this point I'm getting second place, and I should just be happy with that after the boneheaded mistake I made. But I have one more round left to make something of this match. I find a Kayle and go for it and put him out. I have 2 Vel'Kozes that I had picked up earlier, and by some miracle I roll once more, get a Kayle, grab my Nico's help from earlier to silver the Kayle, then as quickly as possible remove my items from Varus, get Kayle in the corner, stack him with 2 Rage Blades and a Quicksilver, just in case. So now it's my 6 redeemed with a silver Kayle to their redeemed with a bronze Kayle. And needless to say, the silver Kayle is going to beat the bronze Kayle nearly every single time. So, yes, I made a boneheaded mistake. However, luck decided to play on my side, and as I tell them, I got so lucky because I shouldn't have won that game, but I did through sheer luck and having at least a decent build and plan. Hope you enjoyed.